Hi, welcome to Testaro's Nerf Room. Zuru has a habit of underwhelming me. A lot. In a lot of ways. More recently, they haven't been doing it as much, but Zuru really has had a rocky history with blasters, because if it's not the internal quality that is terrible, the long shot, it's the external plastic quality that leaves a lot to be desired. The long shot. However, there have been a few blasters that Zuru has made that have genuinely rocked my socks. Like, for example, the second generation long shot, the Ragefire, and this, the Fury X. This is a blaster I was very terrified of when I first saw the pictures of it. But now that I have it, I'm so happy I gave it a chance. Let's get into it. Surprise! Is a 2025 release out of Zuru in their Pro Skins series, which means that it copies the same aesthetic as the long shot, except the long shot, which was white and red, this one is white and blue. And conveniently enough, they did make a white and blue version of the long shot in order to go along with it. So I can definitely respect them for putting in the extra 5 cents in to do that. They didn't have to do that, but they did it anyway, because they said, you know what, we're gonna make a new color scheme, we're sticking with it. There is residue all over this thing from my stupid Nintendo Switch case. Why was I so concerned about it? It costs $15. Not 50, 15. That's the same price as Dart Zone Solo. And granted, the Solo was criminally overpriced, and I still think that to this day. Hey look, they released the Cricket Pro. Solo's not overpriced, says the Dart Zone fanboys. This is the same price, and you are basically getting a primary for the same price as an emergency pistol. That doesn't add up, and I was expecting this thing to be 50 times worse than the long shot. It's about 50 times better than the long shot, but I will get into all the details shortly. First, we have to start with the design. What in the hell? Why does it look so good? This thing looks fantastic. I'd say it looks way better than the long shot in basically every regard. It is beautiful. All the details make sense. It's like this large block thing with this magwell. Honestly, what it reminds me of is the Nerf Apollo. It looks just like a tiny version of the Nerf Apollo with a magwell in the back and a thumbhole stock kind of thing. It's not a stock. You can't shoulder this thing. And you won't want to anyway, because you are actually looking at the priming handle. Yeah, it's hidden very well, but I'll tell you where that is in just a minute. But unlike the Apollo, which was very basic and didn't really have very many interesting redeeming qualities to the design and had a big giant stupid ridiculous hook on the top for a priming handle for some bizarre reason, this blaster actually makes perfect use of it by making it look like a block. It is very utilitarian based, very similarly to the long shot, but this one even more so than the long shot. The design actually works into the ergonomics because we have a main grip and a top prime. Where is it? You'll figure that out in just a minute. But first of all, the main grip is really bad. And that's really painful for me to say. And it just comes down to a singular, teeny, tiny, insignificant little detail. You see this right here? That is a physical bump that sticks up onto the grip and provides this large thing that just juts aggressively into your hand. You can actually see where it juts in because there's a little blop on my hand, on the palm of my hand right there, right where it makes contact. And it sucks. It's incredibly uncomfortable, and it gets real irritating real fast. So if you guys are gonna get this blaster, just sand that off, and otherwise, the grip is just fine. I have no complaints with it. The top prime is actually up here. It's this whole top back part of the blaster, and this is where the design plays in. Because there are so many lines here, and it's so over-detailed, you wouldn't even realize that the transition from white to blue is where the top prime starts. And even hidden under the shell, they have more details to continue the design. So even when it looks like this, it still makes perfect sense. And it is incredibly comfortable just to have your hand up here because the rear iron sight acts as a backstop and this Picatinny rail on top acts as a very nice, comfortable texture to put your hand on. Or if you don't like it, there's plenty of space for you to put your hand up closer to the front, though I wouldn't really recommend doing that because you run the risk of pinching your hand against the front shell of the blaster. So how does this blaster work? Well, it is a magazine-fed Springer very similar to the long shot, and it is also a ball pump, also very similar to the long shot. So you take your mag and you put it in like this, and you pull this back, you push it forward, and then you can fire once. And the blaster does have slam fire. Let's talk about the trigger and the smoothness of operation. First talking about the mag insertion and release. I love this magwell. It is really, really good. I'd say it's way better than the Zuru Longshot's magwell. It is incredibly tight, but it is the perfect amount of resistance in order to make it smooth and buttery, and it fits in real well. This is a strong magwell. Your mags aren't going to be falling out of it, unless you use talons, but I'll get into that in just a second. I forgot to get into it. Basically, talons just do not want to stay in the magwell for some reason. There are also, just like the Longshot, 2 mag releases. You have the one that is built in right here, which you can easily hit with your thumb and feels very natural to do so, or you've got the thumb button mag release here, which works incredibly well, and just like the Longshot, mag drops with ease. It's too bad Siren's mags absolutely suck, because they just don't hold the frickin' darts in no matter what you do with them. Let's talk about the Prime itself. It is really light, like I'm talking Pinky Prime light. It is incredibly light and incredibly smooth and crispy to pull back. It does have a little bit of mechanical noise because there is a ratcheting mechanism that you could easily remove if you don't like, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. It could jam if you don't do that, but that's for modding this blaster, which we'll get into later. But pushing it forward is also very smooth, and the trigger pull is one of the best trigger pulls I've ever seen out of a Zuru blaster. It feels so freaking good. It is incredibly tactile and responsive. You know exactly when that dart is going to fire and how hard it's going to fire. It requires just the right amount of pressure to pull the trigger down. I have not seen a better designed trigger out of any blaster like this, really ever. Not even the Dart Zone Pro blasters can compete with this thing in that regard. And that is a big deal. Now let's talk about something stupid. This is the unjamming switch. You see that? It is not connected to anything. Anything. It does nothing. I haven't been able to get that to do literally anything at all. I don't think this switch is actually connected to any piece of hardware whatsoever. I think it's just in there. It's just there because it is. Granted, you could wire it up to something, you could like connect it to something if you were to mod this thing, but that begs the question, why is it there? I genuinely don't understand why this switch is here. It doesn't make any sense. Did they not finish building this blaster? Is something supposed to be there? I have no idea. Granted, I've never had to unjam this blaster because it's never jammed on me, but I still don't understand why it's there. It is a really weird and interesting case of something being there just for the sake of being there. Now, let's see it fire. That was miserable. Heh, I hit the phone. So what mod potential does it have? Absolutely, a lot. Like, really, really a lot. I've already seen people come out with ridiculous SMG builds of this thing. I've seen people turn this into an AEG. I've seen people take out all the locks and turn it into just some ridiculous holsterable sidearm, mag-fed pistol, secondary, whatever you want to call the thing, that shoots way too hard. This shoots 150 FPS. This actually shoots harder than the original Longshot. Imagine that. The tiny one shoots way harder than the big one. Makes sense to me, but the mod potential for this blaster is through the roof, and just like the Longshot, it has a spot for a scar muzzle in there, and it does have a metal barrel, so you can get ridiculous performance out of this thing. I'm looking at the Torrent over there, and I just want to shake my head, because those are two incredibly simple things that they didn't do for the Torrent, but Zuru did for the Longshot that costs half the price of the Torrent. Makes sense to me! Do I recommend this blaster? I can't believe I'm saying this after the unholy dumpster fire that was the Longshot, but absolutely I recommend this blaster. This thing is ridiculous. It is incredibly good at its job, and that is something I can definitely applaud it for. This is way better than the Longshot ever was, and I'm actually considering getting the new version of the Longshot just to see if it is as good as this, or if it's still as much of a dumpster fire as the original Longshot was. But that's for future me to decide, because I can't really figure that out yet. The point is, if you want to get this blaster, I'll link it in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.